All right, so today we are going to continue our poetry unit, and we're going to look at sonnets, which is just a different type of poem. So if my Chromebook would load, here's a quote for you. Profound subject matter can be encompassed in small space. For proof, look at any sonnet by Shakespeare. So lots of different poets prefer different forms of poetry. Sonnets are a very structured type of poetry, but I think that it allows us to have a lot of deeper conversations about the meaning of the poem, especially when we look at the form. So a sonnet is basically just it's these three things. All sonnets follow the same form. It is a 14-line poem. It follows a set rhyme scheme, and it is written in iambic pentameter. And we're going to talk about what those three things mean as we go through. So a rhyme scheme is the ordered pattern of rhymes at the end of lines of a poem or a verse. Poetry is written in verse, right? That's the opposite of prose, which is what regular writing is. So for example, we're going to look at this famous poem. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are, up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. So we're looking for the word or the sound at the end of each line. So the first one is star. And when we're talking about rhyme scheme, basically what we're doing is we're labeling the rhyme in the poem. So this poem, or any poem, we always start with the letter A. So star is going to be A. And then this next word, right, R and star rhyme, so it is also an A rhyme. And then we have high and R do not rhyme, so we go to the next letter in the alphabet, which is a B. And then we have sky. Sky and high rhyme, so that is also a B. So then when we talk about the rhyme scheme of this poem, we would say this poem is an AABB rhyme scheme, okay? AABB rhyme scheme. Just telling us what type of rhyme there is. So iambic pentameter is basically how each line is set up. They follow different patterns, basically. So the foot, this is important to know, a foot in poetry is a set of 2 syllables. So it doesn't have to be in the same line, right? So for example, syllables is 3 syllables, but sylla, that would be a foot because that is 2 syllables. And then an iamb is a pair of unstressed and then stressed syllables. So iambic is going to be 1 foot that has an unstressed and then a stressed syllable. And the nice thing about iambic pentameter is that it's basically just how we speak normally. So the reason that poets use iambic pentameter is that it basically, when you read it, it sounds natural. And sometimes you'll see they add like accents to make it fit, but typically it's just like the normal way we speak. Okay, so then let's look at pentameter. Or pentameter. So right, penta is 5. Meter means to measure, right? So pentameter is 5 measurements. So each line has 5 feet. So we said a foot is 2 syllables. So basically each line has 10 syllables. So as you count through each line, you're going to notice that they have 10 syllables. And then they're in the iamb form. There are lots of different types of sonnets, and you'll notice, so the Petrarchan sonnet is an Italian sonnet because Petrarch was Italian, but he was basically the inventor of the sonnet. He's known as the father of sonnets. And obviously we have Shakespearean sonnets, Spenserian sonnets, Milton. So these are all named after the poet that basically made that form famous, but they're all using the same form. They just change a little bit, right? So we talked about the 3 rules of sonnets. They all use that. They just change it up a little bit. So what we're going to focus on is the Shakespearean sonnet. So the Shakespearean sonnet form is just like a normal sonnet, 14 lines, follows a set rhyme scheme, and it's an iambic pentameter. However, Shakespeare's is set up a little bit differently. So he starts with 3 quatrains. So a quatrain is 4, a line of 4. So it's a verse. Each stanza is really what it is, which is like a paragraph in poem. Each stanza is 4 lines, and then he ends with a rhyming couplet. And every Shakespearean sonnet follows the same form. So this is an alternating rhyme, and then it ends with a rhyming couplet. So A, B, A, B, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. I know this is a lot, but it's going to make sense as we start to look at these poems. Okay, so here's an example. This is my very favorite poem. This is Sonnet 116. Also, all of Shakespeare's sonnets are just numbered. A lot of poets do this, or you'll sometimes hear them referred to as the first line of the poem. So as I read this, let's see if we can find the rhyme scheme. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever-fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be error and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. So what I'm going to be asking you to do soon is to analyze a poem, a sonnet on your own. So I'm going to show you how to do this. We're going to go through one at a time, stanza by stanza. So this is the first quatrain, right? Quatrain, 4 lines. And you can see minds, finds rhyme, right? And love and remove. And then this is what we call a slant rhyme. Shakespeare will sometimes cheat with his rhymes. So these words don't quite rhyme, but they're close. So, let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love, which alters where alteration finds, or bends the remover to remove. So, Shakespeare's talking about love between true minds. So, basically what he's saying, what I'm about to talk about is not really in reference to people who fall in love because they're mentally right, relatable. So like some people have like a more I don't want to keep saying mental, but they fall in love based on like instead of like physical chemistry or anything like that, they're more academically of us the same mindset, and so then they end up together like that, right? The marriage of true minds. So that's what he says when he means admit impediments, right? Like so that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about like a true love. So he says, love is not love, which alters where alteration finds. So, or bends with the remover to remove. So basically what he's saying is that love doesn't change someone when it thinks that there's something to be changed. And it also, if somebody wants to change you, you don't remove something about yourself. So love doesn't alter or bend, right? Okay, let's look at the next quatrain or stanza. Oh no, it is an ever-fixed mark that looks on tempest and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, though his height be taken. Also, by the way, if you want to count the syllables, right, this is a good place. Oh no, it is an ever-fixed mark. So notice how fixed is 2 syllables. That looks on tempest and is never shaken. So if you look at the second line actually has 11 syllables. Remember that we said it has to be 5 feet. So a foot is 2 full syllables. Occasionally there'll be a syllable hanging out at the end of the line. We just ignore that. That still counts as pentameter. Okay, so this stanza has some figurative language in it. Ever-fixed mark that looks on tempest and is never shaken. So a tempest is a storm. So he's talking about a lighthouse here, right? Love is a lighthouse that looks on storms and is never shaken. So when you say something is something else, right? We're going to see what type of figurative language that is. Okay, yeah. So love is an ever-fixed mark. So love, it's a metaphor, right? Good. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose voice unknown, although his height be taken. So a wandering bark, he's referring to a ship. So as a ship is sailing, right, it looks up at a star that is always in the same place. So he's talking about the North Star. We don't know how much love or a star is worth, right? But you know how far away it is. Okay, quatrain 3. Love's not time's full, the rosy lips and cheeks, within his bending sickle's compass come. So a bending sickle, right? He's talking about like that thing that the Grim Reaper holds. So he's referring to death. We also got time being personified here, right? So as time passes, rosy lips and cheeks, right? The color in your lips and your cheeks fade as you get closer to death. But love doesn't change. And again, love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. So love doesn't change even though time is passing, right? And he says brief hours and weeks because he's basically saying that time, our lifetime is short. But true love bears it out even to the edge of doom. And now a couplet, this is important to know. If you're struggling to figure out what a poem is about, always look to the couplet. The couplet is what is referred to as the turn. So there's always a little bit of a change that's being made, or he's helping to drive home his point. So if this be errand upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. So he says, if this is wrong, and you can prove that I'm wrong, I never wrote, nor no man ever loved. So basically what he's saying is because I've obviously written a poem and people have obviously been in love, there's no way that I could be wrong, right? So I'm definitely right about my opinion of what true love is. Okay, so for you guys, there are 3 options in Classroom. You're going to pick one of them. You're going to read and analyze the sonnet. So there's a little chart at the bottom. And if you have any questions, I'll be on Zoom on Wednesday, 12:30 to 3. Okay, and then that is it.